Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. In our first fight, I'll be predicting. So in our first fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, Diana Belbita versus Hannah Goldy. And how I see this one right here is I'm not really all that high on Goldy. You keep hearing a couple people say, oh, she's such a clean and such this striker, such this and such that. But when I really look at her, she's not really phenomenal in any area, not great in any area, not really nothing to write home about in any area. Outside of physique, she might win some local bodybuilding or swimsuit contests at a very small local level. That's the best thing she could do. But as far as like striking, her striking looks pretty stiff. Grappling, not that impressed by what she does grappling at all. Not that aggressive with her grappling. So if that would be her best chance to beat by Belbita, I think that would be it. And she does have a decent shot to beat her with striking as well, but Belbita has a significant height advantage, significant reach advantage. And when the skill is not greatly greater in one area for either woman, or like she doesn't have a huge striking advantage, or her opponent don't have a huge striking advantage, or don't have a huge wrestling advantage, you're going to lean to the person that has the tail of the tape. Like she has the reach, she has the height. I think her striking is more fluid. And I think she's going to take advantage of the T-Rex arms that Goldy has and be to use her length, use her reach, outwork her, outland her. And I think Goldy's just simply not going to be active enough with her grappling and not going to be, like I said, pursue it as much because she prefers the striking. To be honest, her striking is not that great. So I just see Belbita being longer, faster, more active, sharper, and beating her to a decision. So in this one, I have Diana Belbita via decision. Now to our next fight. We have in the women's flyweight division, Eubanks versus Elise Reed. And how I see this one right here, so some people are talking about Elise Reed got such technical striking, or she's a more technical striker, but I don't see it from what I've seen. It's not like I've been keeping up track on her. I just saw a couple fights I could see from her, and really mostly her amateur fights. And it's not like it's been that much time between these fights, but if it got better, it got better. But all that being said, I think the bigger, more factable factors in this fight is the fact that Eubanks has been at 135, was a decent size 135er. And Reed on the other side has fought at atom weight and strawweight, and now she's fighting at flyweight. So she's coming up in weight and really just been up here for a short notice fight, or just to come in the UFC and take a fight and come in on short notice. So it's really not her weight class. So and her stylistic, well, I think her grappling is better than her striking as far as what I've seen. She might call herself a mixed martial artist, which she is, and they all are. But I feel like her grappling is her best suit. And I feel like Eubanks is better in every area. I feel like Eubanks is bigger than her, more experienced than her, a better striker than her, and a better grappler. And she's also bigger than her. And that's just flat out point. I feel like at least Reed will come in and give her some good work. And that's just about it. But I feel like Eubanks will be able to break her down, use a size out striker. And over the course of the rounds, then I felt like in the third round, she'll be able to touch her up, hurt her, and then capitalize. And the fight goes to the ground. Eventually, Eubanks is able to flatten her out from back mount and then ground and pound her till the ref pulls her off. So in this fight, I have Eubanks via third round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Julio Arce versus Ewell. And I see this fight right here. So Ewell's a pretty solid fighter. He got some solid boxing, grappling, not really there. But I don't know why he doesn't want to prove. But a lot of these guys come into MMA and they just look to be one-dimensional and complain when other people do other things to them. That's not like Ewell been somebody that's been complaining about people mixing it up on him. But there's a lot of guys that come here in MMA and they want to strike. If they such a good strikers, why not just go to K1 or boxing? But yeah, you're going to have your complainers. But Ewell, I don't think he's one of them, but still, what I'm going with is that Ewell just refuses to really work on other sides of his game. You see this guy that wants to strike, and even the striking is really mostly boxing. Then somebody starts mixing up the leg kicks, and then he becomes obsolete. Whether they use the leg kicks to set up the other strikes, or they use the leg kicks just to kick them off balance and then make the takedowns easier. It's pretty, when people have solid skill sets and able to mix it up, Ewell seems to crumble just about every single time. And I feel like Arce has, the boxing gap is not too big between the two. Matter of fact, it could be a lean, to be honest, but I'm going to lean into Ewell, the boxing, the striking, or at least the hands. And Arce is pretty solid on the ground as well. He fought Dan Egan, was able to out-grapple him. And that's a fight people forget a little bit. And that was actually a weight class up. So at 135, I feel like he'll be able to mix in the grappling a little bit better. And I feel like the striking should be relatively even. And when a fight when it's, I got one side of MMA that's close, like the boxing or the striking or the grappling is close. And in this case, the striking is close. The fighter that has the other edge, which Arce has, is in the grappling. I'm going to lean into them. So I feel like Arce should be able to take this to mix up on the feet, get on the inside, score takedowns, mixing some leg kicks, and grind out a smart decision over Ewell in this one. I don't think he stops him, but I do think he outworks him, mixes up, and gets the decision victory. So in this fight, I have Julio Arce via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Mickey Gall versus Jordan Williams. And how I see this one right here is, I will lean the wrestling takedown advantage to Jordan Williams, submission grappling to Gall, but who will have better effect at controlling the position? I see Williams. Mickey Gall's wrestling is horrendous. His striking, as far as power-wise, is horrendous. Technique-wise, his striking isn't too untechnical. It's just like actually, he don't have power because his technique isn't all there. But it's effective, but just lacking power. It's not enforcing. It's effective, but not enforcing. That even makes sense. But like a lot of arm punches. He could change the combination together, but very slappy, very arm punches, and not a lot of power. But where I'm going with this one right here, I feel like Mickey Gall has, solid fighter, but Jordan Williams being the wrestler, being the bigger guy, being the stronger guy, being the more powerful guy, will be able to control the takedown, like I said, whether the fight goes to the ground or not. And Mickey Gall, I feel like his best advantage in this fight is if he can secure a top position and work to submit Williams or something. But I'm not really seeing that happen in this fight. I think it'll more so be a case of Jordan Williams being able to stuff the takedowns relatively easy, score takedowns when needed, land ground and pound, disengage when needed, and really just make Mickey Gall fight at his pace and fight to dictate where this fight takes place and when it takes place. Like when it goes to the ground or when it goes to standing, like Williams will be in full control of that. On the feet, I think Williams will be able to land clean shots on Gall, and I don't think Gall will be able to take that power from Williams. I see Williams be able to stop him in the second round. Like I said, stuff the takedowns, and then start to land power shots. Then once he has Gall hurt, then I see him start to look to take to the ground to finish the fight on the ground, and I see that happening in the second round. So in this fight, I have Jordan Williams via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, Ian Heinisch versus Nasruddin Imavov. And how I see this one right here is, I don't think Ian Heinisch is the greatest front runner or greatest starter fighter. I mean, he has had like that one quick finish over Gerard Machart. But outside of that, Ian Heinisch is typically a slow starter, and he's typically not a talent fighter. He's typically a fighter a workhorse fighter. He's a guy that's going to grind gritty. He's not pretty, not talented, not skilled, not cute, not pretty, not handsome, ugly, and like where are you even going with this? But either way, he's a guy that's he's a workhorse. He's a dog. That's what Heinisch is. He's a guy that's these type of guys that really gonna make it to the top. Always gonna stay in the middle, but they might at best get a good win here and there over a good fighter. And I don't think Heinisch has really got that real good win over a real solid fighter yet. But that's where he is. I don't know why he's a favorite right now. I feel like Imavov is a better striker, especially after saying, I do think he's a better striker, and I think he's a better wrestler. And I think a lot of people might be leaning into Heinisch just based off Imavov's fighting against Phil Halls, but Phil Halls is a much better wrestler than Heinisch in my opinion, and a much better talent. But I could see Heinisch beating a guy like Phil Halls, just like taking it deep and then drowning him. But yeah, but wrestling wise, as far as just straight off fresh, got to give that to Halls all day. But that's why I think Imavov is a more talented fighter, and I think he has the height to reach in this fight. And like looking at the Heinisch fight versus Kelvin Gastelum, had Gastelum looking like he was Daniel Cormier, and that's not a good look. And I feel like Imavov would be able to score a takedown. I feel like Imavov can outland him, and just be the more fluid striker, score takedowns in here, and beat Heinisch everywhere this fight goes. I do see it as a competitive fight, but I just think Imavov is going to be a step or two ahead at all points in this fight. I just think he, like I said, more polished striker and a higher caliber wrestler, and he definitely can hold and push a pace through 3 rounds. He got his own issues, but I don't think Heinisch will be best capable to take advantage of his flaws. But Imavov will be more than capable of taking advantage of Heinisch's flaws. But nonetheless, competitive fight. But Imavov just being 1 or 2 steps ahead, being a little bit more talented, and being able to get his hand raised at the end of this one. So in this one, I have Nasruddin Imavov via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, Punahele Soriano versus Brendan Allen. And how I see this one right here is, this is another case of a fight where you got a guy who has the wrestling advantage, whether or not this fight goes to the ground, and that is Punahele Soriano. He has a pretty solid wrestling background, and he carries over to MMA, and he uses mostly defensively. He might make a takedown or two here and there, but that's not really his style. His style to really is sprawl and brawl, use that wrestling in reverse. And I think he's more than capable of stuffing most, if not all, of Brendan Allen's takedowns, or really just neutralizing or not really allowing Brendan Allen to get to where he's best in this fight, or his best opportunities are, and that's on the ground. And on the feet, I think Soriano is the much crisper striker, and even more than being crisp, his power is just on a different level, and Brendan Allen does not respond the best to power. And I feel like when at least Soriano starts to really connect on Allen, I just really see him starting to wilt. He's going to feel that very first shot, and he's not going to want to be there. He might be the last through the first round, but I feel like by the second round, I think that's where he puts him out. I think he'll be a stuff to take down, keep the fight on the feet, land power shots on Allen, and have Allen wilt pretty quickly in the fight, and then be put out in that second round. So in this fight, I have Punahele Soriano via second round TKO. Now on to our main cards. So in our first fight on the main card, we have in the bantamweight division, Adrian Yanez versus Randy Costa. And how I see this one right here. So Randy Costa, like a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, most people, Yanez is the favorite. It's clear. It's not shifting. He's going to be the favorite from now until the fight, which is tomorrow, which is today, but he's going to be the favorite. But some people are leaning to Randy Costa because, he knocked out a couple of irrelevant fighters. And, Yanez ain't beat nobody yet either. But I feel like he's for a better competition. He's definitely for a much better competition. But Costa got a couple of knockout wins of late. But even still, most of those were very early on in the fights, or just not with the credibility of competition. And I think in this one that Yanez, boxing is more fluid. He has better eyes in there, better reads, takes advantage of shorter windows, and this does more with less is the best way I can make it, the easiest summation of what I'm trying to say. I feel like Randy Costa, a lot of his shots, that head kick he had on in that last fight was pretty clean, but he's fighting a short, stocky, square fighting wrestler / MMA fighter. Yanez is like a on his toes, slick boxer type MMA fighter. So those same opportunities won't be there as much, and he'll be more with the eyes that Yanez has. He'll be more than prompt to be able to defend that head kick and defend most of what Randy Costa. Matter of fact, all of what Randy Costa do, because outside that head kick, each one knows that Randy Costa, he loads up a lot on his power shots, or favors too much of a favorite of the power stuff, the flashy stuff, the finishing stuff instead of the setup. He favors the flash over the setup. His style is almost like a grappler who favors submission over position instead of a guy that's going to follow fundamentals and let the stoppage come to him. And it's going to become more of an issue. It's going to represent itself when he starts fighting higher level competition. It presented itself in his debut. I think he got submitted by not the best of fighters. And then he got a couple more wins. But again, anytime he starts up, that's going to present itself until he really fixes it. I still don't think he fixed it. And I think Yanez is just more savvy than him. And also, looking at their records, he has way more fights, 16 fights versus 7. So more than double the fights that Costa has as far as professionally. But yeah, I just think Yanez going to be more smooth with his and more fluid, be able to take advantage of the windows. And I think he'll be able to take advantage of them, find our opportunities, find the clean counters, and then eventually in that second round, after getting his reads, getting his timings, be able to land clean counters, put him on the back foot, and then they put Costa away with volume and combinations and put him away in that second round. So in this fight, I have Adrian Yanez via second round TKO. Now on to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Macy Barber versus Miranda Maverick. And how I see this one right here is, so a lot of people are leaning to Miranda Maverick for whatever reason. I guess they feel she's aggressive, she has momentum. I feel like the best thing to say to lean to Maverick, or the best two things that I can see why you would lean to Maverick, is momentum. Maverick is like 2-0 in the UFC, so and on a good little streak as far as outside the UFC, following into her career in the UFC. So she's on a good streak. Competition mediocre as far as what she has fought in the UFC, and I feel like she could have the same pitfalls, if not worse, that Barber had, or will likely lose to the same people Barber had lost to if she fought those same women. So it's like, but again, momentum is heavy. You cannot have fought any decent competition and just be feeling yourself and improving and working and getting better. Where the fighter that's on a higher level could be fading, like they don't be believing in themselves, and belief and confidence is everything in MMA. So yes, it's a big factor. So that's what I believe. I believe the biggest factor to lean to Maverick is momentum, and that momentum and confidence. But outside that, I would say she mixes up she's a little more mixed than Barber. Barber prefers to strike and doesn't really look to use her grappling too much. So the fact that you're going to use multiple avenues, that's always a good thing. Instead of a person that's like, oh, I'm a boxer. Like this, they train all this stuff and they be world champions and stuff, but they fall in love with one art instead of mixing it all together. Because it's supposed to be MMA, but they want to be boxers so bad or kickboxers instead of just, I'm going to mix martial arts. Let me go for a takedown. Let me do this. I mean, if you don't have to, don't do it. But they be in tight fights and they just turn to strikers when a takedown or even attempt of that can, yeah. But that's beside the point. Well, I'm just saying, I like the fact that Maverick mixes up a little bit more, and that's a good thing. But outside that, I feel like Miranda Maverick striking is pretty ugly, to be honest. Pretty sloppy, pretty stiff, pretty slow. I felt like Maycee Barber is the much more fluid striker and definitely the more effective striker. Her shots, not as much output, but definitely much more power behind it. Definitely more finishing intentions and finishing ability, more power, more pop, and more purpose behind the shots. I feel like Maverick just throws stuff out that she was just a fight, a typical like grappler type fighter that just got in the box. I mean, just got in MMA and like, let me just throw stuff out there and then throw a couple punches out there, then try to hug a leg. Or the fact that I'm just throwing punches and I'm touching you, like, oh, that's good. But nah, her striking needs a lot of work. Defensively needs a lot of work. Footwork needs a lot of work. I just think Maycee Barber is a more fluid striker. And I feel like Maycee Barber actually has a solid takedown defense, like 80% or something. So I feel like she'll be able to handle the grappling Maverick. She don't play in too much. More so sprawl and brawl in this one. Look to disengage and just keep the fight standing and keep it in like boxing range. Don't let it get into that clinch range or avoid getting tangled up in this fight as much as possible and work on keeping it a striking matchup. And I feel like this should be Maycee Barber's fight. And I think it will be her fight. And I think she stops her late in this one. I think she's able to stuff the takedowns on her, connect on her, and take advantage of the big gaps and big flaws in Maverick striking, the non-existence of defense, and her power shots will eventually add up over. Maverick might go 10 or 20 more strikes, might land 10 or 20 more strikes, but Barber's going to get, I'm going to say 20, maybe, I'm going to say like 10 more strikes. But Barber's shots will be heavier, and those shots will wear on her, where Maverick shots ain't going to wear on nobody. It's just going to be there, like pillow punches. And Barber's going to be able to put her out in the third round. So in this fight, I have Maycee Barber via third round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Darren Elkins versus Darrick Minner. And how I see this one right here, this is really a momentum pick because Darren Elkins, stylistically wise, this is a good fight for him. But given where he's at, he's like on a 6-fight, 5-fight, 4-fight long losing streak he's on. And it's really a momentum. Like he's getting older and he's not winning. Whereas Darrick Minner was like on 2-fight winning streak. And it's looking good for him. So it's like momentum. Like Darren Elkins looking out the door. I don't think Miner's going to go on to be any great fighter or a great contender. He might stick around for a little bit. But as of right now, he got some momentum. And Darren Elkins looking like he's on the outside, like he's looking at the door, like he's about to go out that door. So it's really a momentum pick. But Darren Elkins has never been submitted. Solid wrestler. Sneaky, strong. Undoubtedly tough. Undoubtable heart. So it's very much a tough fight. But I'm going to lean to Darrick Minner getting the submission in this one, just off momentum and, wear and tear. Like, Elkins without doubt has some wear and tear. And also, I feel like Minner will be able to get the better of the striking. Even though Minner is not the greatest striker, Darren Elkins seemed like he lost a screw or two. And he never was the greatest striker, to be honest. And even now, his striking still a little bit underrated. But it's just like, his brain move a little bit slow. He has taken a lot of damage in his career. And I feel like his punches are a little bit slow, like his striking a little bit slow, a little bit delayed. And I feel like Darren Minner will be able to take advantage of that and be able to land, just like Nate Landwehr did. Even in that fight, it was a closer fight. Low key, Elkins outstrike Landwehr, but I feel like Minner a little bit more polished than Landwehr. Landwehr a little more aggressive, but Minner a little more polished on striking. And I feel like he'll be able to outstrike Elkins in a very tight matchup, threaten with submissions. And I think he'll eventually find that submissions after hurting Elkins on the feet, especially because, the damage. He will take some damage in this fight, get hurt, go, back to his bread and butter. And I think from that position, Minner will be able to snap up a guillotine, lock it in, and tap him out in the second round. Just as the fight flows and catch him in transition. So in this fight, I have Darrick Minner via second round submission. Now to our co-main event, we have in the bantamweight division, Kyler Phillips versus Raleigh and Paiva. And how I see this one between these two fighters right here is I just think Phillips is a dangerous matchup for Paiva. I feel like Paiva is a dangerous dude. He's going to give you a fight no matter who you are. I mean, unless you just run through him. But as long as he's in fight, he's not going to be a guy that's quitting or, just giving him the fight. He's a fighter. He's a dog. Striking might not be the prettiest. It's definitely not bad at all. But compared to Phillips, I feel like Phillips is a much more polished striker, much more fluid, much more purpose to his strikes, much more diversity. And on the ground, Paiva has been giving a lot of takedowns in these fights. And really, most fights, I think he might have like one or two takedowns in his whole UFC career. Not the greatest offensively with his takedowns, and most times his opponents that take it to the ground. And they have been able to find some decent success. Now imagine Phillips, who probably is the best grappler he has fought. And I think definitely by far the best overall fighter he has fought. And I think Phillips will be able to take advantage of that. Like, take advantage of some, or maybe overconfidence with his grappling, or at least some negligence as far as his takedown defense, or maybe just opportunities that would be presented. And from those positions, be able to beat him position and control him on the ground, and just work to smother him, like mix up on the feet, like pressure him on the feet, take him down, smother him, transition, and just be relentless and wear him down. I think he's going to be able to take advantage of that lack of takedown defense, or that area where it has been exploited even by a striker like Kai Kara France. Even though some takedowns were given up because he was going for submissions. And if he did that with some else, like, people that's going to do stuff. Like, it's not just case, I only did that because that guy was a striker. He's going to try the same thing with Phillips. They're going to try, he think a submission that he's going to attempt it. Like, same people, they can fight Damian Maia. They might try jumping for a guillotine. They train it. So when they see it in the fight, they're going to go for it. And then the same, like, this instinct things that could be smart instinct with some people is going to be bad against other people. And Phillips, anytime he offensive submissions, unless he just got it dead to rights, is going to be a bad mistake, and it's going to end up with Phillips on top of him. And this heavy top pressure and aggressive with the transitions, smooth and aggressive, and it's cutting him down and it's slicing through him like butter and wearing down on Paiva. And eventually just that pressure and that pace is going to suffocate Paiva. And I think Phillips was able to get a late submission in this one in the third round after this smothering, blistering pace. So in this fight, I got Collar Phillips via third round submission. Now to our main event, we have in the bantamweight division, Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. And how I see this one right here is Corey Sandhagen has a huge height advantage, huge reach advantage, and a significant youth advantage, like 6-year youth advantage, like a 5-inch height advantage, 3-inch reach advantage. So he got a lot of advantage in this one, and also has been active. Dillashaw hasn't fought in like over a year, 2 years, maybe even more than 2 years. So he hasn't fought in a long time. And also, just from history and from what's been heard or what's been out there, it seems like Corey Sandhagen has gotten the better of TJ Dillashaw. And TJ Dillashaw himself has admitted that Sandhagen got the better of him in like some interviews I've seen in the past. And then when I started to see Sandhagen come up, I'm like, oh, that's who he was talking about. And then he even admitted like that. Like these young guys like Sandhagen, they be getting the better of me. Like he admitted it. So and also Sandhagen admitted that's why he left the gym. Like Dillashaw was one of the reasons he left the gym. He was training with him, getting better of him. Dillashaw don't like to be outshined. So I think it's a case of, I just feel like Sandhagen will have his number in this one. But one thing that Dillashaw will have advantage of is wrestling and submission if he chooses to use it. But historically, even when we look at his best, and even with the most EPO he has ever taken, he hasn't been the guy that's going to be really implement his grappling too much. And really at this point, he's really fallen in love with the striking. But I think he will look to use his wrestling. But I feel once Sandhagen is able to get back to his feet, or is not having the success that he wants, I feel like Dillashaw's going to get away from his grappling. So I feel like it's an advantage, but he's not going to thoroughly use it or look to use it as much as he should. But looking at Sandhagen, 30% takedown defense, horrendous. And now you look at that fight versus Aljamain Sterling, you look at some Sunstyle fights and even Mariah's fight. There's some opportunities. Also, is that one fight, his debut fight, he got messed up but was able to rally and get a stoppage. But you see some opportunities there for Dillashaw, but I just see the case of it. A guy that hasn't been that active, a fighter who had his number in the gym, and now is active and looking good, looking clean. And I don't feel like Dillashaw is a guy who's in denial a lot of times. So I don't feel like he has made the necessary improvements or are going to come in. He's going to come in a little bit of ego. He's going to probably look to outstrike Sandhagen or knock Sandhagen out And I just think Sandhagen gonna use that length, put that jab in his face, use his length fully, and keep Dillashaw on the outside, and take advantage of the patterns that Dillashaw has and that people have studied, and also stuff that he probably has learned even more having trained with Dillashaw. And I feel like Dillashaw will try to look to take advantage of stuff that he saw in the camp, but I feel like Sandhagen will have been more proven, whereas Dillashaw I feel like going to be make some subtle changes, but be more of the same. I feel like Sandhagen will, like I said, that number's still going. When he called that number, it's still going to ring. So I feel like he's still going to have Dillashaw's number and be fresher, be more fluid, be longer, be more creative. I think he's a better boxer. I think he's a longer fighter. I think he's a faster fighter, better footwork. But I do give Dillashaw the grappling advantage. But again, not going to implement it enough. Sandhagen's going to be able to use that reach, pepper up Dillashaw, outbox him, and I think pretty much outclass him on the feet. Dillashaw might have a little moment on the ground, but a little, like I said, just not enough. And eventually, over the course of the rounds, that damage is going to wear up on Dillashaw. And Dillashaw, historically, is not a guy that wears damage the best. But I think he will be able to grit it out for maybe 2 rounds. But I think in that 3rd round, Sandhagen's going to be able to put him out. So in this fight, I got Corey Sandhagen via 3rd round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. And as always, thanks for watching.